All right, what's going on, y'all? I'm back after being gone for a few weeks. The reason being, I've just been doing stuff, IRL outside of YouTube. But I'm back here, and I'm going to be doing, for the first time ever, a full 7-round NFL mock draft live. And I just want to get right into this, man. Honestly, I'm kind of excited to do this. I've tried streaming this once, but I'm using kind of new software, whatever, so bear with me. And I've decided that there will be no trades for this because it got all messed up when I did trades and stuff. They don't have players I can do it with. They don't just let you force trades or whatever. So yeah, I'm using this, and yeah, like I said, no trade mock draft. Let's get right into it, and I'm gonna say the Bears select Caleb Williams. I do think they'll end up moving on from Justin Fields. Just after everything I've seen, there's a chance they don't. But there's also a high probability they do. So I will say Caleb Williams goes first overall. For the Commanders are a very interesting team. Because for me, it's between Drake May and Jay Daniels. And I think they'll end up taking Drake May, although I believe Daniels is the better prospect. And I think that leaves the Patriots with Jay Daniels. I think the Patriots, no matter what, are taking one of the top 3 QBs, and whichever one's left over at third overall, they'll take, which in this case is obviously Jay Daniels. For the Cardinals, they stick with Kyler Murray. They take Marvin Harrison Jr., which I think could be an elite group. DeAndre Hopkins, Marvin Harrison, Marquise Hollywood Brown, possibly. I mean, that's a really good receiving core there, and one that could probably compete with the best of the best just off that Hopkins Harrison duo alone. For the Chargers, I think they'll take Malik Neighbors. They'll create a great wide receiver trio of Allen, Williams, and my fault. I accidentally muted my mic. But yeah, Neighbors, Allen, Williams, all them. I think that's going to be a great wide receiver core if they decide to take Neighbors, which I think they will. For the Giants, they're kind of stuck with Daniel Jones with that contract, so you might as well just build around them. They don't really have a lot of great receiving threats, if any, honestly. So they take Romo Duns. I hope I said his name out of Washington. Really good deep threat receiver. Really good at pretty decent at route running as well. I'm kind of excited to see where he'll go in the NFL draft, and I think he'll go to the Giants 6th overall. For the Titans, 7th overall. Protect Will Levis. That's really the main goal for this draft, and getting Joe Alt will be a huge addition there. They don't have too great of an offensive line. Really don't have anybody too notable there, and I think Joe Alt could really be a huge addition there. For the Falcons, I do genuinely believe the Falcons will probably end up trading for Justin Fields, but like I said, this is a no mock draft, so I think they'll end up taking it's either going to be receiver or it's going to be lineman, both on the offensive defensive side. And I believe that they are going to take an offensive lineman here. Let me find which one. I think it's either going to be Powers Johnson or Fashanu, and I think just off pure value alone, they're going to end up taking Fashanu. Because, like I said, I do think they'll end up trading for Justin Fields in this draft. And with that, you're going to need to protect them. And they don't have a great offensive line, so I think Fashanu will be a big weapon there. For the Bears, I think that's a situation where you just kind of take the best kind of skill position guy available, which is Brock Bowers, unfortunately. They do have Cole Kmet, I'm pretty sure, which ain't bad, but Brock Bowers could be a real game changer there. So, unfortunately, I see him going to Chicago, although I hope he doesn't. I hope he goes to the Bengals. For the Jets, this is no question. You're taking off lineman. You got to protect Aaron Rodgers if you want any chance of succeeding. And I think Fuego will be a huge addition there. For the Vikings, this could be a situation where they take best position available or best play available. I think they're going to take an edge rusher or cornerback here. The question is, will it be Dallas Turner or Terrion Arnold? Both Alabama players. I think they'll take Dallas Turner. They've really lost most of their key defensive pieces, especially at that edge rushing position. And I think Dallas Turner could be a huge impact player for them as a rookie. For the Broncos are a very interesting team. I think this is where Michael Penix goes. I genuinely think Michael Penix is the 4th best quarterback in this draft, at least as a prospect. And I think with that, he'll end up going 12th overall to the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson leaving. For the Raiders, I think the Raiders end up taking J.J. McCarthy. I wouldn't be shocked to see him go Bo Nix here, but I feel like J.J. McCarthy will kind of fit in better with them. So I think the Raiders will end up taking them, but I could see their pick going anyway. For the Saints, I see the Saints pick going either way here. They do need offensive tackle, though, so I think they'll end up taking J.C. Latham, but that pick can go anywhere as well, whether it be a skill position or offensive line or defense. For the Colts, they have a couple needs, but I feel like they'll just take a position in need, which is cornerback, which will be Terrion Arnold. And that'd be huge for them. I also see them later in the draft, and I'll get into it when I get in the later rounds, them taking quite a few skill position players. For the Seahawks, they'll either take an offensive lineman or an edge rusher here, but I think if Javos falls to them at 16, they're going to take them. Just such a good value pick, such a good player in general. I feel like you got to take them cornerback. Now, this is where I may get some flack here, because I personally think that besides sorry, I forgot his name. I'm blanking right now. Besides for Arnold, the second best cornerback in this draft class is Cooper DeJean. So I think the Jags end up taking Cooper DeJean. They really need help on the defense side of the ball. And I think DeJean's genuinely the second best cornerback in this class. With that being said, we got the Bengals. I see two, maybe three possible players the Bengals go for here. I think they'll either go for Emmaus Mims, an offensive tackle, or they'll go with Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think that they'll end up going with Kool-Aid, which I won't complain about. I think Kool-Aid's a great player. I think he's going to be a great player at the NFL level. But with that being said, it's also very important to note that that could maybe raise some problems for them if they don't take Mims. But either way, for the Rams are a team who I see going offensive tackle or cornerback. And I think if Mims goes to them at 19, they're just going to end up taking them because I feel like this is a pretty deep secondary class, so they could get a cornerback later. But for Mims, he's arguably the best offensive tackle in this draft besides for Joe Alt. And I feel like and you can argue maybe he's a little bit of a better prospect than him, but I personally think Alt's better. And I think they'll take him. For the Steelers are a very interesting team because they are all over the place. Like I could see them taking multiple positions here. I don't think they'll take quarterback. Although I did see a thing where maybe Daniels could drop the 20 to them, which would be insane, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I think they'll keep working on that secondary and take Quinton Mitchell. Although I could see him going offensive tackle with this pick as well. But if they don't go offensive tackle with this pick, that means that Troy Fatanu, although I personally prefer Gutton over Troy, I think Troy will end up going to the Dolphins, which would be good. Some extra protection for Tua, never a bad thing. For the Eagles, it's very interesting to see where they'll go here because obviously I don't think they're going to go skill position player, but they really have a couple places where they need to build on, but they'll end up taking Nate Wiggins with the 22nd overall pick, which is not that value whatsoever with that pick. For the Texans, I think the Texans end up taking receiver here, and they'll end up taking either Brian Thomas or Keon Coleman. I personally think that Coleman is the better prospect, and I think that he'll fit better with the Texans. I mean, I think Stroud's going to love Keon Coleman. He really loves his deep threat receivers, and I think Coleman's exactly that. For the Dallas Cowboys, I can see them going multiple ways with this pick. They'll either take Jackson Powers Johnson, Zazon Newton, Brian Murphy, or Tyler Gutton. I personally think that they'll go Brian Murphy with this pick. I know it says he's second best D tackle, but I would put him over Newton in my opinion. And keep building that defense. I believe you have at least most of the pieces on offense to build a very solid team. Or to have a very solid offense, I should say. But on defense, you have a couple pieces lacking, so I think Murphy would be a good pick there. For the Packers, you build on the secondary, and I think Tyler Nubin will be there in the second round for them. So they'll probably take a cornerback. The question is, do they take Ennis Jr. or Kamari? I personally think Kamali's a bit of a better prospect. Honestly, I think Kalen King's still the best cornerback prospect in this draft, but his stock did drop quite a bit. So they'll probably just end up taking the best cornerback available in junior here. For the Bucks, I could see the Bucks go multiple ways with this pick, but I think they're going to get a absolute steal with Latu. And it's nothing against Latu. He's a great player. I could see him going in the top 15. But I feel like just with all the players that are ahead of him, he'll probably end up dropping to 26 here. For the Cardinals, now at this point, the Cardinals, you could really draft anybody. In my opinion, you just take the best player available here that also fits your position need, which would be Jazon Newton, although I could see Tyler Gutton just as easily going with the pick here. For the Bills, I think the Bills will end up taking Brian Thomas Jr. here. Gabe Davis is probably going, and due to that, you're going to need a valuable replacement, and I don't know if Shakir is ready for that. So I'd say they take Brian Thomas Jr. here to be on the safe side. For the Lions, you get cornerback help. Take Kamari Lazier. Lazier is a great player. Was great with Georgia, and I think he'll be great with the Lions if they develop him correctly, because he's a player who I don't know how much he'll quite impact in his rookie year, but later on I could see him really being an impact. For the Ravens, I generally think the Ravens are going to either keep building on their defense or they're going to take a receiver. The question is, would you rather have Troy Franklin or Robinson? I think they're going to go with Robinson because I think you already have most of the pieces on offense and defense, but you have Lamar on offense. He can make plays himself. On defense, just adding another game record would be amazing for them. For the Niners, I mean, it really depends here because if Debo or Ayuk leaves, I could see Mitchell, Worthy, or Franklin going here. But at the same time, when it goes to kind of positions and needs, Gutton's right there. And I think they'll end up picking Gutton, assuming Debo or Ayuk don't leave. But like I said, that's just assuming. For the Chiefs, no doubt, you take Troy Franklin here. You need receiver help. I understand the receivers were clutch in the postseason, but for almost every single game before that, they were the exact opposite of clutch. So I feel like you just go with the best option. Just like here for the Panthers, you either go with Worthy or Mitchell. I think it's going to be more on who they're comfortable with. Are you more comfortable with Boss throwing the Mitchell or Worthy? And I feel like Mitchell will make Boss the most comfortable, so we'll end up taking him. For the Patriots, it's all about building around Jaden Daniels at this point, and with that, you take the best offensive lineman available and Morgan. And yes, I know Johnson is right there, but I think Morgan was probably fit better with the Patriots. For the Cardinals, though, I think they'll finally start working on a bit of defense. I personally prefer Darius Robinson as a prospect. Granted, I watched more games of Robinson due to my favorite team, Kentucky, playing in the SEC, so I watched him more closely than Twice. So I personally think he's a better prospect, but Twice will probably go here too. Also, he had more success at the collegiate level, team-wise. For the Commanders, I can see them going multiple ways here. I could see Darius Robinson going here. I could see a receiver going here. I could really see this going multiple ways, but they'll probably just end up taking Darius Robinson. Like I said, I think he's one of the better edge prospects in this draft, and to get him at 36 would not be bad at all. For the Chargers, you build a bit on that O-line. You get Powers Johnson here. And the reason why I say that is because I understand maybe the Chargers maybe don't need him as much as some teams, but this is a projected top 25 pick who falls to you at number 37. I feel like you got to take that there. For the Titans, you work on your secondary and you take Kalen King, and I understand a lot of people consider this a reach, but I genuinely believe Kalen King has the most potential out of any other secondary player in this draft. And I'm a big believer in Kalen King. That could come back to bite me because he's coming off a bit of a down year. But I genuinely believe he can be a great player for the Titans. For the Giants here, that I could see them going multiple ways here. I could see them going secondary or just defense in general. And I feel like since a lot of the second round prospects in the cornerback is out, I say they probably just take the best D lineman available, T'Vondre Sweat, which is not a bad pick at all. 39th overall. Sweat has potential to be a great player. He would probably be a first-round prospect if it wasn't for Murphy, who was in front of him. But yeah, he's a great player. For the Commanders here, you continue to build on here. I think this is a nice three-way battle for number one linebacker prospect. Cooper's obviously great. Wilson's great. Trotter Jr. I think is probably the most proven, but you probably just take the best linebacker prospect available in Cooper here, just to be safe. For the Packers pick, you remember when I said Tyler Nubin would be there in the second round? I meant it. He's there. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if Cameron Hitchens got picked here either, but they'll probably just take who they believe is the best safety prospect available, and who I believe, too, Tyler Nubin. For the Vikings, honestly, I think here we see our first running back taken. Now, this is going to be a hot take because obviously it says Trey Benson's like the better player. I think Blake Corum gets the first running back taken. I think especially his performance during the college football playoffs really put him over the edge. So I think he's the first running back taken in the second round, 42nd overall. For the Falcons, they need some help, and luckily for them, this is a pretty stacked receiver class, and I see them going with Xavier Worthy here. Worthy, I think, has the potential to be a mid to late first-round prospect, but I do believe in this mock draft at least he'll fall down to the 43rd overall pick, which would not be a bad pickup at all for them. For the Raiders, I can see the Raiders going a lot of ways with the pick. I could see an offensive lineman getting taken, or I could see them maybe reaching a bit for a cornerback, but I think a lot of the real big cornerback prospects that they want will be there in the third round. So they'll just take the best offensive lineman available in Kingsley out of BYU, which is not a bad pickup whatsoever. The only thing I'm concerned with is the Raiders are not known in developing linemen like really well at all. So that could be slightly concerning there, but we'll see. That's probably the best pickup they can get. For the Saints, they get a receiver here. I personally think they take Xavier Leggett. Leggett has been the best receiver on South Carolina. He was really a big bright spot for South Carolina, really his last couple of years, and I think he's a great player, and I think the Saints get a nice pick up there in the 45th overall pick. For the Colts, I think they're going to take a receiver here. Personally, I think they will take Polk. I know Ladd McConkey is a good prospect, but I believe there's better options out there, and I think Polk is one of those better options, so I believe they walk with him at 46th overall. For the New York Giants, now I think the Giants pick here heavily depends on whether Saquon stays, because I could see Trey Benson or Jonathan Brooks going here, depending on whether or not Saquon stays. But assuming Saquon does stay, they probably end up taking either just some kind of defensive player, which linebacker Peyton Wilson would not be a bad pick here, though I could see Trotter Jr. going here as well, but I'm going to give it to Wilson. For the Jags, you keep building on defense. You get Chris Braswell, the edge rusher, and because defense was really not a bright spot for Jacksonville last year, and they really need to improve on that, and I believe they will. For the Bengals here, I know Sanders is here, but I believe that Stovis should be there for the Bengals in the third round. So assuming they don't trade here, and due to the fact they didn't take a lineman in the first round, they'll take Patrick Paul, offensive tackle, this round, because you got to make up for the fact that you didn't take one in the first round. You know, they do need at least one more offensive lineman, assuming at least Williams leaves. So Paul wouldn't be a bad pick there. For the Eagles, once again, this is a team I could see this pick going a lot of ways. Honestly, I don't think there's anybody too good in the offensive lineman department except for these two guys. So I'm going to go with Graham Barton. Obviously, with Kelsey retiring, you're losing a huge part of your team. And Barton would be a very solid pickup here at 50th overall. For the Steelers, we go back-to-back lineman picks. They take Zach Frazier. They've not had a great offensive line in a while. One blocking's been atrocious last year. So taking him here at 51st overall would not be bad at all. For the Rams, I genuinely could see the Rams reaching for a cornerback here. Now, that's just my opinion on that. Because frankly, I think they're going to need some O-line help. I have a feeling they're going to take a big decrease. So they take Cooper Beebe. I hope I said his name right. With their second-round pick, second overall. Would not be a bad pickup once again. For the Eagles, I think now you really start looking at more defensive players. I think Isaac at 53rd overall will not be bad at all. At worst, he's a developmental prospect for them, and they've been pretty good at developing defensive players in the past, so I trust them to do the same here. For the Browns, at wide receiver, I could see them taking any of these three guys here, but I feel like with McConkey, or Ladd McConkey, sorry, that's what I call him. I'm just going to call him Ladd now. With Ladd, he's the 40th overall pick, or projected 40th is what it says here. And frankly, if he's there at 54, I feel like that would be just too good value to pass up. So although I think Roman Wilson's personally the better prospect, they'll probably want with Ladd with their 54th overall pick, which would not be a bad pickup at all. For the Dolphins, they'll probably end up taking the best player available here, honestly, not named Bo Nix. They may need a little safety help, so I think that's where Cameron Kinchins come in. Although I could see them taking Sanders. You know what? Yeah, I think they'll take Sanders here. I feel like if Sanders can drop to them with the 55th overall pick, they should probably take him. For the Cowboys here, I mean, there's a lot of ways they can go here. They could reach for a lineman. They could try to get some help at safety, which, now that I think about it, makes more sense. As if Cameron Kinchins falls to them at 56, that should be great value for them, assuming they can develop them. For the Bucks, you get protection. I understand that they're reaching for one of these guys. I personally prefer Fran Brand here at 57th overall. I understand it's reaching a bit, but I feel like for the Bucks, you kind of got to go the lines out. Don't be afraid to reach for guys they want, and I believe they should want Fran Brand pretty bad. And for the Packers, I think they should wait a bit before they try to go all, kind of handsy with the linemen here. And I believe they should take not a tight end. I'm looking for edge. There we go. Edge rusher here, Jonah Elise. But the thing with Jonah is I don't know if he'll drop past the second round. He definitely could. But I don't know if they're going to be willing to take that risk with him that he will. So this is a very interesting team with that. I'm just going to say they take Jonah Elise. Like I said, a bit of a reach, but I believe they want him. And I don't know if he's going to be able to drop out of or if he's going to drop out of the second round. So just to be safe, they take him there. For the Texans, get some line help. Chris Jenkins would be a really good addition to their squad. Really good value pick there at 59th overall. Not bad whatsoever. For the Bills, you really just get any help you can on defense. And you probably need some help on offense too, but I believe they already did that with Brian Thomas. So they take Javon Bullard, safety. Just all you can really do is improve through the draft. You don't have enough cap space to really improve through there. So you play the safe game and you take Bullard. For the Lions, this could be a situation for them where they just take the best player available, honestly. Though taking a wide receiver here is definitely pretty tempting. And I think Roman Wilson actually would be a great player for them at that pick. Really good value too, 61st overall. I think Roman Wilson's a tad bit better of a prospect than Walker. That's just my opinion. But with that, the Ravens get Walker. I don't really know about Rashad Bateman. I personally think he's on his way to being a draft bust, at least a bit of a draft bust. Which sucks because I do like Bateman, but I just think it's true. For the Niners, once again, this is assuming Debo or Brandon Ayuk don't leave. And they just continue building on that defense. I personally prefer Michael Hall Jr. as the better D-tackle prospect here over Leonard Taylor. That's just my opinion, though. And for the Chiefs, I generally think the Chiefs take another receiver here, Malachi Corley. The reason why I say that is because their receiver core, despite being clutch in the playoffs, was not good. This was arguably the worst receiving core in the league last year. And that's just me being that's not even me saying that as a Bengals fan. That's just me being completely honest. And sorry if it's laggy, by the way. But yeah, that's just me being completely honest. I think the receiver core was worse in the league last year, and I think due to that, they'll go back-to-back rounds taking a receiver. For the Panthers, you just get line help. You reach a bit, but you get Christian Haynes. You just help by the only way possible. I think they should probably make a couple moves in free agency as well. But I think Haynes would be a solid pick for him here in the third round. For the Cardinals, you really just kind of keep building around Kyler Murray here. And I think due to the best lineman available being line, they just take the defense lineman here, Leonard Taylor, who falls to them at 66 overall. That would not be a bad pickup whatsoever. For the Commanders, you keep helping out on defense. Take Kalen Bullock, 67th overall. I think that'd be a great pick for him, as I think Bullock's a great player. Now, I am a little concerned on how well his game will kind of develop at the NFL level. But at the end of the day, we just have to wait and see. For the Patriots here, you just got to keep, going. I could see them taking a running back here. Genuinely, I do. It's all about whether or not they trust Stevenson or not. And I think either way, whoever they draft will probably be the RB2 with a chance to earn the RB1 spot. And due to that, I think they'll end up taking Trey Benson in the third round. Because Trey Benson's a great running back. It's just I personally prefer Blake Corum over him. But I think he could be really good at the NFL level. But he will need a bit of development. And who knows, maybe he could win the starting spot in New England if he gets drafted in the third round. For the Chargers, you just kind of keep building. I understand you're going to have to reach a bit. But they take Karan here. It's just all about protecting Herbert, which is something you simply did not do last year. And if you got to reach for a lineman in order to do that, then so be it. For the Giants, although they can't make a trade out of Jones' contract, I do believe Bo Nix goes to them 70th overall. I think Bo Nix has plenty of concerns for the NFL level. I understand that. So I don't think he'll make it to the I don't think he'll make it within the first two rounds because I just don't think he's such a great prospect. You can't pass him up, but I do believe that in the third round, if he's there at 70th overall on a team with a struggling quarterback, even that, though they just paid him, he would be perfect for him there with that pick. For the Cardinals, they may keep building they may build on offensive lineman here. If they do, they'll take the best one available. But they'll probably just head the linebacker and take Jeremiah Trotter Jr., 71st overall, which would probably be one of the better value picks of this entire draft. I think Trotter Jr. has potential to be a great linebacker at the NFL level. It really just depends on how the Cardinals develop him. For the Jets, before anybody says anything, I do not care how big of a reach this is. You take Dominic Puni here. I'm pretty sure that's his name. I know that's a bit of a reach, man, but you got to protect Aaron Rodgers. That offensive line last year was terrible. So if you have to spend back-to-back picks slightly reaching for an offensive lineman, then so be it. For the Lions, they work on the D-line a bit. It's between any of these three guys. I think they'll just take the best one available in Luke because, why not? They do need a bit of help on defense as they weren't exactly great on that side of the ball. They were okay, but not anything spectacular last year. And I think Luke could be a nice possible instant impact player for them. For the Falcons, assuming they end up getting somebody like Justin Fields or whatever, and even then it's still like to take a quarterback, you start kind of building around them. And even if you stick with Desmond Ridder, you kind of build around them here. So do that. But they can do that in later rounds as they still have a few picks here, as you can see, even a pick later, which they'll probably use on an offensive player. So they'll just take the best linebacker available in Junior Colson. Colson's solid linebacker. Don't know how much success he'll have at the NFL level, but we're at the point of the draft now where you can kind of start just going for guys who you can develop into solid players, which who knows with the Falcons. For the Bears, best edge rusher available, Brandon Dorless, sorry. solid player at Oregon. Will need some development, which is why I'm kind of concerned if Chicago takes him. But assuming Chicago can develop him, he should become a fine player and great value for 75th overall. For the Broncos, I could see this pick going a multitude of ways. They'll end up taking TJ Tampa, though. Really depends. They still have a few picks left after this, so they'll kind of build around Michael Penix along with the weapons they already have. But you're also coming off a disappointing year from your defense. That's usually been the anchor for your team. So you try to get a little bit of that back with Tampa. For the Raiders, I think we stick with cornerback here. Personally, I think Mike is the best cornerback prospect here out of the three, so he goes to them 77th overall. For the Seahawks, I would say you get lineman help, but as you can clearly see, there's not many great linemen left. So you go defense to help a bit, and they may reach for Jaden Hicks here. That's a big may. I think personally that they should probably go with either somebody on the O-line or possibly receiver. But I'll say they'll go someone with the O-line and Christian. Won't even try to pronounce his last name. Another developmental player, possible starter. And they've been pretty good at developing players, so I trust them with him. For the Falcons, I believe this is where you really start kind of building around your guy, besides for the first two picks. And I could see Cade Stover possibly going here, but I don't think he will. I think they'll end up taking Johnny Wilson, wide receiver, and that should leave whoever their quarterback is heading into next year with really solid weapons. I personally think it'll be Justin Fields. That's just me. For the Bengals, tight end Cade Stover. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I do think it's generally possible that Cade Stover goes to us at 80. He's not as high of a tight end prospect as I believe he should be. I'm really high on him out of Ohio State, and I believe he'll fall to the Bengals 80th overall. For the Seahawks here, I say they work on defense a bit, taking a cornerback. Once again, I think Drain's just a better cornerback prospect here than Carson. Like I said, I'm probably a little biased. I watched a lot more SEC than I did any other conference of football, obviously. But I think Chris here goes 81st overall. RP Kobe. And I think this could be, and like I said, there's no play that'll need to be developed, but I do think he could be a very solid addition to the Seahawks secondary. For the Colts here, they probably take an edge rusher if I had to take a guess. But I could see him also taking one of the D linemen here, but I think they'll take Marshawn Kneeland as they'll be drafting more at a position of need than anything. For the Rams, I think this is where Carson finally goes, 83rd overall. Get some help on that secondary besides the players they have right now, which ain't many, to be honest, that can actually make an impact. So they're just going to be kind of going for it there. For the Steelers, assuming Kenny Pickett's still your quarterback, you'll probably want to provide some help from on the defensive side of the ball more than you already have. And they'll just end up taking, in my opinion, Jackson's the better prospect, but they'll probably end up taking Braden Fisk here, 84th overall, which wouldn't be a terrible pick. I think he can develop really well under that for the first couple of years, or maybe just his rookie year on that great defense. For the Browns here, this is a team where I can see their pick going many, many ways. I'd say they'll take linebacker Cedric Gray, though, which at 85th overall would not be a bad pick whatsoever. Another guy who probably needs to develop a little bit, but also the Browns makes defensive players do wonders. So that'd be a solid pickup there. For the Texans, cornerback, out of all these guys, I personally prefer Kyrie Jackson or DJ James. But Josh Newton's the best cornerback prospect left on the board here, so they'll probably just end up taking him 86 overall. For the Cowboys, I think this is where they really start to work towards offensive linemen as well, and they reach a bit to take Fisher 87th overall. It ain't like they haven't been known to develop linemen anyway, and I do believe they have a year or two that they can do that. For the Packers, I would not be shocked to see a receiver get taken here, if you want me to be honest. I could see Jalen McMillan most definitely going here, and I think he will. I personally prefer McMillan over Ricky, and I understand the Packers got a pretty young receiving core, so you're like, why add another receiver? why not? I mean, get Jordan Love as many weapons as possible. You saw what he did last year in the second half of the year. I say you keep that going. For the Bucks, assuming Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans stays, they probably work on secondary a bit here and select DJ James, the 89th overall pick, which would not be a bad pick whatsoever. I think James could be a really solid addition to their good but not great secondary. For the Cardinals here, they'll probably go more on the developmental side when it comes to cornerbacks. I've already talked about how I prefer Jackson over Milton, but Milton at 90th overall wouldn't be bad. Like I said, he'll probably need to develop more than anything in his rookie year. But if they can manage to do that, he could be a really solid play for them. For the Packers, I say they work on defense here. McKinley Jackson, I think, is an absolute steal at 91st overall. He's a great player. Genuinely, I'm really high on Jackson. I think he could make an instant impact for the Packers, in my opinion. But we'll see. I think they'll take him, though. At safety for the Lions, they'll take Jaden Hicks. Cole Bishop here wouldn't be a bad pick either, but I think if Hicks is still on the board and you need safety, you kind of got to take him there with the 92nd overall pick. For the Lions, or for the Ravens, sorry. At this point, most of the big-time linemen are gone, so you'll be forced to reach a bit no matter what. But getting Zach Zinter with the 93rd overall pick still ain't bad. He did good in Michigan, and I think he'll continue to do good at the NFL level with the right development, and I think he'll develop well, unfortunately, with the Ravens. For the Niners, assuming, like I said, Samuel and Ayuk do not leave, I say they work on defense a bit and they take Kyrie Jackson, 94th overall. I think Jackson could actually make a bit of an instant impact for the Niners and at least a bit of a defensive role. And I think by year 2 or 3, he could make a real serious impact for them. There for the Chiefs, now I think you work on your defense a bit. And assuming that Chris Jones leaves, Mason Smith, Mason Smith, I'm pretty sure is his name, would be a great addition there at 95th overall. Like I said, this is assuming that Chris Jones does end up leaving. You try to at least somewhat replace him there. And then the Jaguars take Wingo, because I think you either take Smith or Wingo here, depending on who's left, with the 96th overall pick. For the Eagles, you may just take the best player available here, honestly. That's not like a quarterback. I genuinely wouldn't be mad if they took one of these running backs here or even this receiver, but I should have said best defense player, been more specific, which is Austin Booker. I get that's 2 edge rushers, but at the same time, that's 2 really young developmental edge rushers that can make a serious impact for them there. For the Niners, I think even if Samuel and Ayuk stays, they know this will probably be the last year for at least one of them. So you go ahead and get ready for the future by taking Ricky Purcell there, 98th overall. A great 3rd round pick, a guy who I could see maybe going in the late 2nd or early to mid 3rd. And if he falls to you at 98th, that would not be a bad pickup whatsoever. For the Bills, you work on secondary here, even if you got to reach a bit, get Cam Hart. Kier Elam's been okay, but definitely not what you expected out of the 1st round pick. So you kind of got to get ready for when he probably leaves in a couple years and draft Cam Hart here. For the Rams, I genuinely could see Rams going quarterback here with either Spencer Rattler or Jordan Travis. I think they'll take Travis over Pratt. But I think they're going to, at least for now, not worry about that and just focus on winning now. And with that, take Cole Bishop safety, just really work on that secondary as much as possible, though I could see them taking a running back with that pick as well. Speaking of running back, I think we finally see another running back go here. Let me try to find the running backs. There we go. And they take Jonathan Brooks. This would be a great pick. This could honestly has the potential to be still the draft. I really like Jonathan Brooks as a prospect, and to get him with the 101st overall pick, would be huge for the Commanders. Speaking of running backs, I think one gets taken with the 1st pick here, with it being Braylon Allen, another great pickup for the Panthers. Bryce Young really had no help in any position last year besides for Thielen, really. And I think Allen has potential to be a great RB1 for the Panthers. They are in the 4th. For the Commanders, I believe they take a tight end here. Jaheim Bell is a great pickup here, 103rd overall. He could really be, at worst, a solid blocking tight end, but could probably do a lot for more than that for the Commanders, and they have a big need there at tight end, so you might as well walk with it. For the Patriots, you probably go with Lyman here, and you walk with not Christian Jones, Limmer. I understand Limmer's a big reach there, but at this point, like I said, it's just really all about protecting Jane Daniels, helping him at all cost. And in order to help him at all cost, you're going to need to take Lyman. And Limmer's not there. You might as well just go ahead and take him. For the Cardinals here, they'll take a defensive player here. They'll either go D-lineman or cornerback. It's really who they prefer, Simpson or Carter. I think they'll take Carter. We're now in the stage of the draft where they're taking more developmental players than anything, and Carter would be a solid pickup there. For the Chargers, they finally go defense here, and although I could see them going edge rusher here with Gabriel Murphy, they'll stick with D-tackle and go with Tyler Davis, though Justin may be there for them in the next round, but I think they'll just play it safe and take Davis. For the Titans, you really start building around Will Levis now. I wouldn't be mad if they took any 4 of these guys. Jamari Thrash, I think, is definitely the most developmental prospect out of all 4 that may have the most potential. Washington's very solid. Barton's a great deep threat. But they take Jay Ross's son, Brendan Ross, 107th overall. Just really helping out Will Levis. He's a young quarterback. He's going to need as much help as possible. And getting Ross here, who could be a very solid threat for him, would be huge. For the Giants, you go cornerback here, and you take Simpson. I do like Johnny Dixon as a prospect, but he more likely than not will probably go in the late 4th to early 5th. So due to that, you take Simpson here with the 4th round pick. And the Vikings, they do really need help in a lot of places. I could see them taking a receiver here with Jermaine Burton or a cornerback, and I think they're going to kind of bank on Dixon, fall into them maybe, and they end up taking Jermaine Burton. For the Falcons, they may, if they draft a need, they may reach a bit, but if they're drafting and just overall trying to help their quarterback as much as possible, they'll probably go with one of the linemen here, that either being Adams or Jones, and Jones being the more highly sought-after prospect, will probably go to the Falcons 110th overall. As an instant starter, I don't quite know. I think he'll have a chance to at least compete for that, but that'll be a really interesting thing to look out for there. For the Bears, Matt Goncalves there. Caleb Williams needs an offensive line, and at that point they hadn't drafted much, and Goncalves going to be a bad pickup there in the 4th round. For the Jets, you probably pick a tight end here, Theo Johnson. I could definitely see them going with a D-lineman here, but it's really all about Aaron Rodgers. You protect Aaron Rodgers, and if that takes taking 2 offensive linemen and a tight end with your first 3 picks, you take 2 offensive linemen and a tight end with your first 3 picks. It's as simple as that. For the Raiders here, they probably take a receiver. Jamal. I personally think they'll probably take Washington, because Thrash, I think, is very much a developmental player. Washington's probably more NFL ready, and so is Jacob Cowing. So they probably take Washington here, 113th overall. For the Jets, they finally go some defense here and take a cornerback, Wade. Because, like I said, I think they'll be focusing heavily on protecting Rodgers, but after they're done with all that, they'll start looking more towards defense. For the Jags, you continue just drafting purely off need, and you take Tyke Smith there with the 115th overall pick. Like I said, the defense really was not great last year. They need to do everything in their power in order to improve that. For the Bengals are a really interesting team here. I could see the Bengals going running back here. But it depends, because if Mixon does leave, which I think he will. I think we go running back here. So we take the best running back available in Irving. The reason why I say that is because if Mixon leaves, you're down to really just Chase Brown and Chris Evans, and I don't know if they really trust that, so they end up taking Irving there. I really don't hope Mixon leaves. I hope he takes a bit of a pay cut and stays with us, but it's also very possible that he does end up leaving. So if he does, we'll take Irving. For the Jags, like I said, they really went only defense here, so they probably go offense here and take Isaiah Adams. At worst, you get a developmental prospect at the offensive lineman position, and where you focus solely on defense up to this point in draft, you might as well take some offense as well. For the Colts, I could see him going tight end here with Ben Sinnott, or I could see him going running back here. And I personally like Shipley more than Audric here. So they'll probably end up taking Shipley here, 118th overall, because Taylor's probably going to be gone here eventually, if not already. And with that, you're going to need at least a temporary replacement for him. I think Shipley can be just that. For the Seahawks, you go offense tackle here, Javon Foster. I do really like this pickup for them. I think Foster's a great player. Now, he's like most picks, he's going to need to be developed, and his ceiling is decently low. But if developed right and, already possibly could be a solid player, he can be good there. For the Steelers, you probably just picked James Williams here. Great prospect to get here in the 4th round, 120th overall. If they can get him, that'd be a pretty decent, in my opinion, steal. And they have back-to-back picks here. And I could see them taking a running back. But I think they'll take Gabriel Murphy, because if Murphy's still there at 121st overall, not to mention with like TJ Watt and all them, he could really develop well under them, and plus be a solid player that can make a play here or there. For the Broncos, they'll go offensive tackle receiver here. I think this is where Jamari Thrash out of Louisville will go. Really solid, high ceiling player that they get there that they will need to develop if they want to get the full potential out of him, obviously, but could be solid there. For the Bears, wide receiver Jacob Cowing, DJ Moore and Cowing, I think has the potential to be a underrated wide receiver duo, and especially with Darnell Mooney just vanishing off the face of the earth, I would not be shocked to see Cowing go here. For the Texans, I believe this is where the Texans take running back Audric Estime. Damian Pierce vanished off the face of the earth. If I'm being completely honest, he was really nowhere to be found all season. And I'm pretty sure it's David Montgomery was really their main back, but even he wasn't like great. So they take a running back here in the 4th round. For the Niners, they go based off need and reach a bit for Cohen here in the 4th round. At this point, you're really just trying to find more developmental prospects for them. For the Bucks, Braid wouldn't be a bad pick here, but there's definitely a lot of ways they could go with this pick. And linebacker Tommy Eschenberg, probably the best pick they can go with here. Although I could see the running back going here as well. For the Packers, they'll probably take offense. No, they won't take offensive lineman here. Although I could see Roger going here. I think Roger's a very underrated prospect. But they'll develop more off kind of need, or go more off need, and take Jalen Ford here out of Texas. I believe there's a lot of Texas players in this draft that, if developed correctly, can be really solid players, and he's one of them. For the Texans here, they take Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State. I watched Kamara play one game, and I think it was against Colorado. He was really, really good in that one game I saw him play. And he's been good really his entire collegiate football career. And with the Texans, he could be a kind of sneaky starter. I could genuinely see him becoming a starter for the Texans in his rookie year. For the Bills, you take linebacker here, just the best one available, which would be Trevon Wallace. Like I said, at this point, you're kind of focusing more on developing these guys. And he's out of Kentucky. I'm pretty sure the first Kentucky player drafted, so yay. It's a dub for us. For the Vikings here, even if you got to reach a bit, and I don't think there's much of a reach at all because I love Johnny Dixon as a prospect, You get him 130th overall. Dixon, I think, is one of the more underrated prospects in this draft. Huh?
Mom told me to wash your hands.
Oh, okay, I will. Give me a sec, guys. I gotta go wash my hands so I can eat dinner. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, like I said, Dixon, very underrated prospect. We're shocked to see him go there. For the Ravens here, best offense tackle available, Roger Rosengarten. That's a pretty cool name, actually. But yeah, with the Ravens here, there's not really many more positions you can draft here. There'll be instant impact players. So you're going more off who you think will be the best out of their certain group, and you can develop the rest. And Rosengarten is that player. I could see the Niners going running back here. I wish it'd be Ray Davis, but I do think Jalen Wright is the better prospect here and would be the better pick for them here. For the Chiefs, at this point, they can't get really many really good offensive tackle prospects, so they just take the best one available in Brandon Coleman. Once again, bit of a reach, but at the end of the day, if you want the players you want, you're going to have to reach. For the Ravens, running back here, as much as I love Ray Davis, I think Marshawn Lloyd is a bit of a better prospect, just by a little bit, so they end up taking him 134th overall. For the Browns here, I could definitely see them possibly going with Davis here, but they'll probably end up going safety here and take Braid 135th overall, which would not be a bad pick, and we are officially in the 5th round, by the way. For the Patriots, I'll see them going tight end here and take Ben Sinnott with their 5th round pick, 136 overall, which would be a very solid pick for them. Sorry, guys, I got my food, so I will be eating during this, so sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah. For the Cardinals here, I see them taking a running back, and I think this is where Kentucky running back Ray Davis will go in the 5th round, 137th overall. This is really good. But yeah. For Washington, they've already drafted a lot of positions they really need, so I'd say they take a wide receiver here. Smith would not be a bad pick whatsoever here in the 5th round. He's a really solid player. And, I saw him play at Texas A&M. He really was not bad. Not exactly ready for the NFL yet, but developed that could be a solid 2 or 3 option. For the Chargers here, going purely off need, they take Jared Riley. Like I said, just purely off need. Take the best tight end prospect that is available. For the Giants, I could see the Giants going with another receiver here in Javon Baker. I could also see them going with another defensive player here in Pritchett. And I think that is the direction they will go, unless there's a better safety available, which there is. Sion Rocky. Very solid. He was very solid for Utah. Wasn't anything spectacular, but was a very solid starter for them. So if they're able to get him, that'd be pretty good. Sorry for the Panthers. Best D lineman available, Justin. At this point, you don't really got a lot to lose there. Might as well just go based off need. Who's also the best player in that group. Same for the Falcons here. Just take Keith Randolph Jr. just go off need on who's the best in that specific group, which would be Randolph Jr. For the Bears, their last need is really safety, and Oladipo would be very solid for them. I'm gonna go close my door real quick. Love you guys. But yeah. Based off need there, that'd be a really solid pickup for them in the 5th round. Plus, with Eddie Jackson gone, they're going to need someone to replace him. And Oladipo wouldn't be bad. For the Broncos, I understand that they will have to make a huge reach either way. So they just go ahead and take it and select Delmar Glaze. Because they're still building around Michael Penix. They're going to want some kind of improvement on the offensive line. Glaze, they wouldn't be bad. For the Titans, they take the best tight end prospect available there. And Span Ford out of Minnesota. Pretty self-explanatory there. Just once again, position of need, best player in that position. For the Broncos now, I think they're in position to take the best player available. That's a non-quarterback, that being Nelson Caesar. Be a real good pickup for him there out of Houston. Could also be an instant impact player, depending on how they use him. So it'll be really interesting to see there. For the Raiders, Layden Robinson here at 147th overall would not be bad whatsoever. And for the Bengals, hold on. All right. Yeah, sorry, guys. My mom bought me my drink. But anyway, next up is my team, the Bengals. And for the Bengals here, I could see this pick going a lot of ways. Depending, I could see us taking Baker. I could see us taking McCormick. I could even see us taking a safety in Proctor. But who I think we will end up taking is Mason McCormick. Like I said, I think we're going to be really high on offensive linemen, especially later in the draft. And that means us reaching for a questionable prospect, then so be it. At West, I think he'll be a solid backup. And at best, a possible starter. For the Saints, I think they take cornerback here, with Pritchett coming off the board here at 149th overall. Going off need, take the best player available, although Brantley Jr. has the potential to be the best player available, so I wouldn't be shocked if they took him. For the Colts, I think this is where Josh goes off the board here, 150th overall. I think he's one of the more underrated prospects in this draft. I think there's a lot of really underrated prospects in this draft, and I think at West he'll be a very solid backup option for them. For the Seahawks, I do think this is where Spencer Rattler goes off the board here. Not saying he'll be a potential Geno Smith replacement, but I think he could be a really good backup plan for them in case they do need him. A lot of people forget. Just a couple years ago, Rattler was a projected possible first overall pick, and now obviously he's dropped way down. But I think just off that potential alone will be a good pickup for them in the 5th round. For the Jags, I think they'll also go quarterback. And although I personally prefer Travis, because I didn't see a lot of Michael Pratt, I think they'll take Michael Pratt here. Actually, no. I think they'll take running back Johnson here. Try to get a solid backup behind Travis Etienne Jr. And I think overall Johnson just has more potential than Pratt. For the Rams, I think this is where they'll go quarterback. They take Michael Pratt once again. Similar with Geno, not exactly a replacement pick, but more of a just-in-case backup pick for him there. They do have back-to-back picks, so they'll end up taking Gabe Hall here. With this pick, behind Aaron Donald, he has the potential to really develop into something solid, and behind Willie has a solid front seven. That'll be interesting there. For the Browns, they could take a tight end here. I don't think they will. I think they'll go somebody on defense, and I personally think they'll take Cedric Johnson. I think he's probably the overall better prospect, and that'd be a really solid pickup for him. There. For the Vikings, I say they reach. They take Malik here. Now, at this point, you're just kind of drafting off need or on who you think has the most potential. And I think Mustafa, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. But I think he could be a solid pickup there. For the Dolphins, I think they'll end up taking Javon Solomon there. Really solid pickup there for him in the 5th round. Really good value pick as well, which is really the big thing there. For the Chiefs, I think they'll end up taking a secondary player here with Brownlee Jr. going off the board here. He's going to need to develop, definitely. But even then, behind McDuffie, Thornhill, all those guys, I think he could really develop into a solid starter. For the Bills, this is where they take the running back. I think this is where Cody Schrader goes. I'm really high on Cody Schrader, believe it or not. Even while I was watching him during the Ohio State game, I'm really high on him. I think he's a great running back. I think he'll continue to be a great running back. Potential, I should say. I won't say continue, guaranteed, but I really like Cody Schrader. I think Cody Schrader, my hot take for this draft, I think Cody Schrader is the most underrated prospect in this draft. I watched him at Missouri. He was electric. Really, most of the Missouri offense, if we're being totally honest. And I think picking him here is a great value pick for the Bills. For the Eagles here, I think you take Maurice, the best linebacker available. No, he'll be a solid backup his first couple years, and I think maybe by his 3rd or 4th year, he could develop into a potential starter. For the Cardinals, I think you keep kind of developing around Kyler Murray here, and you take Javon Baker, wide receiver. And Baker could be, depending on what happens to Marquise Hollywood Brown, Baker could actually be the instant wide receiver 3 as a rookie, depending on how Brown goes there. For the Bills, I think they'll end up taking either a quarterback or Zion here. It really depends on it really depends on how high they are on Jordan Travis, but I do think they'll end up taking Zion here. Not from the NBA with the 162nd overall pick. At this point, he's a need. He's a solid prospect. A little concerned on how he'll develop because I think Matt Milano's really the only reliable developer at this point. Maybe Von Miller can do something. But we will see, and the Lions will go with the man, or the linebacker, I should say, that they didn't take, which is Harper. Harper at Missouri was a very solid player. Definitely a I don't know how the best way to put it. I don't want to say bland, but he's definitely an interesting player. Somebody who could develop into a solid starter, but the linebacker Alex Alonso, they have on the team right now, I could see him becoming him. For the Ravens, I think for the 3rd straight pick, a linebacker is taken, but I think Curtis Jacobs gets taken here out of Penn State. I'm really high on a lot of Penn State players in this draft, I know. But Jacobs, I think, has the most potential out of every other guy that was there, so they end up taking him. For the Panthers, I believe they go a different route. I think they'll end up taking Brennan Jackson here, edge rusher. Would be a very solid pickup for him there. And I wouldn't be mad at that pick at all. Continue building on that defense, especially if Bones ends up leaving. For the Vikings, where they already have Blake Corum, I think they'll stick with Madison for at least another year. And they'll end up not reaching too much, but reaching just a tad bit for Tyrese Knott out of UTEP. Very much a project player, but I think Knott could be very solid there. For the Saints, I'd say they take a linebacker here. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, but I saw him play at Washington. He was okay. He was solid. Good enough to be taken here. And for the Packers, I say it really depends on who you think's better. I think Sadatoa gets the slight edge over Andrew here, so the Packers rock with him there. For the Saints, they take the man that wasn't just taken by the Packers, Andrew Raham, because I think both of them have potential to be solid starters, at least bridge starters. And the Saints will get their pick on who they want. They'll get their pick depending on who wasn't already taken. For the Eagles, I could see him continue building on defense here. I could see him maybe going Ronaldo Green here, maybe even taking a cornerback in Phillips. But I say they'll walk with safety and end up taking Green here, try to develop him for a couple years and then see where he's at from there. And they got back-to-back picks, and I honestly think here, this is where they'll take a cornerback. They'll take Phillips out of Kentucky. Once again, just kind of a project for them there. But at this point, it's the 5th round. You might as well just start going off guys you think you can develop. For the Chiefs here, I could see them taking a cornerback, but I don't think it'll be this round. So they'll probably just stick with linebacker, take J.D. Burnt on there, just get as many developmental players as possible. For the Cowboys, I think they'll take Kingsley here. Kingsley has potential to be a great starter in this league, but he will need a lot of development, and I think the Cowboys is actually the best case scenario for him there. I saw him play at Florida. He was not that bad whatsoever. For the Saints, I think the Saints take quarterback Jordan Travis here. Probably won't replace Derek Carr, but would be a very solid backup option for him. And let's be honest, Ian Book is just not it there. So I think you take Jordan Travis. For the Bengals, you continue to work on your defense a bit here. And you take Jalix Hunt. Oh, I would say take Hunt. I didn't see him play much. I did see McGregor play, and he was great. So I say they do reach for McGregor here. And then the Niners go with Hunt. 176 overall. I'd like the Bengals to take Hunt there, but I believe they'll take the other guy. For the Rams, Grayson Murphy could go here, but I say they'll take a receiver, and they take Luke McCaffrey, brother Christian McCaffrey. He's definitely like a kind of spotting player. He can go all around the field, and I think they'll have a lot of fun with him. For the Eagles here, I say they reach for a D lineman here, Jordan Jefferson. I do think Jefferson has the potential to be a great starter, but he's going to need a bunch of development for a couple years to get there. And hey, the Eagles are known for developing very solid defensive players, so we'll see how that goes. For the Vikings, I think they'll end up taking. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I guess I just have to talk to my family here there. For the Vikings, I think they take Michigan tight end A.J. Bonner here. They do have a big need at tight end, and I think Bonner will be like I said, guys, sorry, I just got talking to him. But yeah, like I said, tight end's a big need. Bonner could compete for a starting tight end spot, honestly, so that's really good value in the 6th round. For the Panthers, you need linebacker. You might as well take Nathaniel Watson. He has potential, and that's really all you're looking for in the 6th round, so you might as well take him. For the Commanders, you reach for offense tackle a bit here to get Greenfield. Really just trying to protect whoever is your quarterback by the time the regular season comes around. And Greenfield is very solid. I think if he was at a bigger school, he could be a potential 4th, 5th round pick. For the Patriots, I think the Patriots do take a receiver with this pick. I think Taj Washington should be ranked higher than that, but I think they'll take best receiver available, which I think is Jordan Whittington, in my opinion. And they hadn't took a receiver yet at that point, so you might as well take one there. For the Chargers, it really depends on whether they think Easton Stick can stick as the backup quarterback for them there, but I think they'll take Grayson Murphy, the edge rusher. He has potential, would be a very solid pickup for the Chargers there. For the Titans, go on the D-line here. I think Harris will be there by the time they pick again. Well, at least you should. And they take offensive lineman Tanner. Not even going to try to pronounce his last name. For the Giants, I think they take another receiver, Marcus Rumsey here. Now you got kind of a solid core there of Slayton, O'Bowens, and Rumsey. If he can win the wide receiver 3 spot. For the Dolphins, you go purely off need and you reach for Jalen Jones here. Jones was solid for Florida State, but it will be interesting to see if the Giants are willing to take, Dolphins are willing to take them there, but at that point, that's a need. You might as well take them. Oh, excuse me. For the Jets, I do think a running back will be taken in, and I think they get great value by taking Gerard Jordan here. Jordan was great at Louisville, did have a rough stretch near the end of the year, but I think he'd be a very solid addition to the Jets roster behind Michael Carter and Breece Hall, and possibly stepping that running back 2 role eventually. For the Cardinals, I'd say they take an offensive lineman here, and they end up taking Trevor Keegan. At this point, you're just kind of taking the best offensive lineman available, and I think that's it right there. For the Eagles, with their pick, they'll probably just take the best player available, which at that point would be Dylan Lobb, or Luke. I don't know how to pronounce that. Very solid addition. Could be the possible running back 2 behind DeAndre Swift. And even if he's not, it's a good value pick. For the Vikings here, I think the Vikings draft Joe Milton with this pick. They don't really have a good backup. And Milton may have potential to step in if Cousins gets injured again, because I do think Cousins will be their quarterback and in the next season. For the Rams, I think you just take the best play available here. I think they take Frank Gore Jr. I'm really high on Frank Gore Jr. I believe if he played at a higher school, he would be a 3rd or 4th round prospect at West. But due to playing at Southern Miss, he dropped quite a bit. But even then, I think he'll be a really solid pickup for the Rams in the 6th round. Hoping the Bengals get him. I really am. For the Saints, I think they take Dallin Holker. They need a tight end, and Holker's the best one available, so that's really goes without saying. Same for the Colts. Eric All is the best tight end available. They need a tight end, so you might as well take them here in the 6th round. For the Seahawks, it really depends on how much they're willing to reach. I think they'll be more willing to reach for Evan Williams than any other player, so they end up taking him. For the Jags, I think they'll end up taking probably just the best player available that's not like a running back or anything like that. So they end up taking Jake Nugent, which would not be a bad pick whatsoever. You want to point that out. He could develop into a solid backup or temporary starter. For the Bengals here, I could see us going linebacker here, but it's really how much we're willing to reach for a player that we want, if I'm being totally honest. And we probably just go with the best player available, not a running back or a punter. And we go with Charles Turner III, which wouldn't be too bad of a pick, genuinely. I think we're going to have to go really young with linemen this season, in case you couldn't tell. For the Steelers, they'll probably get a quarterback in the 7th round. But for now, I think they're just going to keep trying to build along with what they have. And they'll take either Isaiah Davis, McLean, or Edwards. I think they'll end up taking Edwards here. Edwards was really good with Georgia, and he could be a solid backup option behind Najee Harris. And who knows, possibly maybe even take a starting spot, depending on how good or bad Harris plays. For the Bills here, I think they're going to reach a bit. Take Marcus Harris, which I think would be a really solid addition for him there. For the Falcons, I'll say they try to go for a backup running back here, and they take Isaiah Davis, 199th overall. Like I said, just kind of looking for a backup here. Davis is the best one available. Might as well take him. And then McLean goes to the Dolphins here, and I think he could actually be a very solid player for the Dolphins in his rookie year, just off the or for the Dolphins here, based off this scheme. For the Saints, I think they'll take Miles Cole, edge rusher. He'd be a solid addition there. We'll need a lot of development, but that's with most players this late in the draft. Bills take the best edge rusher available, Jalen Hale, kind of compete with Zion for that spot. For the Bucks, I do think the Bucks will take a receiver here, and they take the best one available, Jackson. Even if Edwards and Gallman both stay, you're going to need a solid wide receiver 3, which is something they probably don't have. I think they still have Scotty Miller, but that's about it. So Jackson could compete for that, definitely. For the Packers, there's not really a bunch of really good options available, so they'll just take offensive tackle Julian Purveyor. Sorry, I mispronounced that, I know. And same for the Browns, just take the best offensive tackle available. For the Bills, I could see them taking a possible backup running back here, but they'll probably rock with Ladarius Henderson, probably be the smarter pick there anyway, 206 overall. For the Lions here, I think the Lions, they've shown they're willing to reach for players they like, and I feel like they'll like Tanner McLaughlin at this pick, so I think they'll be willing to reach for him there at 207th overall. Just like the Browns will be willing to reach for Miles Murphy. Well, Murphy or Jaden. I think they'll take Murphy. I think they'll end up taking Murphy here, 208th overall. Solid backup, I think he'll be for them. Possibly, if he's developed right for the Niners. They'll probably in this situation just take the best player available. I wouldn't be shocked if they took a kicker. I don't think they'll take. I think they'll end up taking Xavier Thomas, just the best non-running back available. At this point, you're just looking for players that could possibly develop into solid backups, really, and that's who could be there. For the Raiders, I think this is where Jane Cromedy will go, 210th overall. Would be a pretty solid pickup for him there, at least in my opinion. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think this is where Taj Washington would go. Washington was a really solid deep threat for USC, and if he's the same for Jacksonville, he could be a potential starter for them, potential wide receiver 3. For the Rams, they need an edge rusher, so they'll take Eric Watts out of UConn. Basically, they need one, and they get one here late. Probably won't be a starter, obviously, but probably has starter potential, in my opinion. So it wouldn't be a bad pickup. For the Cowboys, Michael Barrett's still there, 213th overall, so you might as well just go and take him. Championship experience. Well, national championship experience, I should say. He's a winner. Could really help him out there. Niners, probably going safety here. Kenny Logan Jr. wouldn't be a bad pick at all at 214th overall. We got the Niners again. And I think the Niners takes a quarterback here. Honestly, I think out of everybody, they'll take Sam Hartman. Hartman's probably the most NFL ready, quote unquote, out of any other quarterback that's kind of here. So they end up taking him in the 6th round just to be a backup option. I think the Packers will end up taking Kendall Milton, the running back here in the 6th round, just out west to get a solid running back 3 out of that. And at best, possible running back 2. For the Rams, I think where you took Frank Gore Jr. already, you don't really need to take another running back. So you either take a linebacker or an offensive lineman with this pick. And that will take Jeremy Flax out of Kentucky, which I would really like, obviously, because he's out of Kentucky. And then you reach for a tight end and Trey Knox. For the Titans, For the first pick in the 7th and final round, we're nearing there. This is probably just a take best player available situation. That's not a punter or kicker, which would be Rasheen Ali. Although I could see Dwight McLeather going here. Matter of fact, yeah, I changed mine. I think they're going to take Dwight McLeather here. Would be a really solid pickup for them in the 7th round. For the Commanders, I think they'll take a running back here. And then we'll go with Rasheen Ali here in the 7th round. For the Raiders, I think they'll end up taking I could see him taking Coker. I don't know, though. He'll probably be available in free agency if they want to take the risk with him. So they'll probably just rock with somebody they know for a fact will at least make the roster, which is Richardson. Cardinals just take Demison there. For the Chargers, linebacker, I do think they'll reach a bit and take John Tree Hunter. Though still Chambers is a very interesting prospect, I'll say. For Arizona, I think they'll take quarterback here, just best one available, Austin Reed, to come be a backup for him. Raiders, I think they'll keep Aiden O'Connell as the backup, so I could see them taking Tip Raymond here. That's a tight end. I think they'll go with cornerback here and take Marcellus Dial. And knowing the Ravens' injury history, he could possibly need to step up here. So you might as well get him. Just like the Raiders might as well take Johnson. The Browns, Harden, just getting young players. Patriots, I think they'll take another receiver here. This is where Jalen. Actually, I think this is where Cornelius Johnson go. I think I don't know why they're underrating Cornelius Johnson so much. I think he's a lot higher on a lot more draft boards than people think. So I think he'll go to the Patriots there. I think Lovett goes here to the Saints. The Cowboys can get running back Bell here in the 7th round. Pair him with Deuce Vaughn in the backup field. Is what I'm calling it. Colts, I think they're probably going to Minshew as a backup. They low-key just may take the best player available here. If it would let me go to all. Which in this case would be Andrew Coker. Who's not a punter and kicker, by the way. Yeah. I had to talk to my mom out there real quick. But anyway. For the Seahawks here, I can see them taking Tory Taylor, the punter here. No, their punting game wasn't exactly bad, but it wasn't great last year, so you might as well just go ahead and take an improvement here in the 7th round. For the Jags here, you take Walter Rouse, offensive tackle. Maybe could develop into a solid backup. For the Bengals, I think you take Jalen Coker here, the receiver out of Holy Cross. Not a bad pick whatsoever there. For the Texans, you take lineman here, Dylan McMahon. He could actually be solid. Like, he could actually genuinely be an okay backup to possible starter. For the Broncos here, you take best offense tackle available, which is Caden Wallace, who could, once again, I think he's a player that could develop into a possible starter. For the Steelers here, I think they'll take Carter Bradley. Actually, I think they'll take Devin Leary just because he played in the SEC, and they'll end up taking him in the 7th round just to come be a backup. Dolphins, I can see them taking I think they'll take Tua's brother, Tagovailoa. Tua's brother, good chemistry there will obviously lift his morale up, so they take him there. Justin Rogers is there. Might as well take him 240th overall. For the Cardinals, at this point, there's really no reaching. You take who you think's the best, and I think they'll believe Nathan Thomas is the best pick there. For the Cowboys, they can get a solid edge rusher here, or they could rock somebody, or they could go somebody at corner, which I think is what they'll do by taking MJ Devonshire here. Packers, I think they continue the trend of taking or they continue taking a cornerback here, as they'll take Monroe. For the Bucks, they already got DJ James, but you might as well add one more with Jones going here, 244th overall. For the Texans, I think they'll slightly reach for an offensive tackle here with Travis Clover. I think for the Bills, they'll probably take Daquan Hardy here, cornerback. For the Lions, I think they'll take another receiver here with Anthony Gold being that receiver. For Baltimore, it's this is a situation where they can take really anybody they want, and they'll just take a Manny Bailey here with the 248th overall pick. For the Niners, it's really about whether or not they want to move on from Jake Moody. I don't think they will, so I think they'll take Gene Bespedy. I bet if I mispronounce his name, obviously. Just be a solid pickup there in the 7th or in the round. For the Texans, they get a backup behind CJ Stroud by taking Carter Bradley. For the Packers, I could see them taking a backup quarterback here. I genuinely could. But I believe they'll end up taking somebody in the secondary here. I think they'll take Kamal Haddon. For the Bengals, I think they'll end up taking linebacker Jackson Sermon here. But once again, Steel Chambers is right there. I think he could possibly be off the board. For the Jets, I think they'll take. I think at this point they're just going to take an offensive lineman. Like I said, protect Aaron Rodgers and just have some backup options there by getting Hanson. And then assuming Zach Wilson leaves, I say they take Slovis here, 254th overall. With the Bucks, I think they'll end up taking Jack Plummer as a backup. For the Chargers here, I could see them going running back here and getting Blake Watson at Memphis. And I'm pretty sure this is Mr. Irrelevant, right? Yep. And then with the Mr. Irrelevant pick for the New York Jets, I believe they will take. Hold on, give me a sec. If it will go to all. Jumbos, please. Jaquan Shepard. I believe he will be the Mr. Irrelevant. And yeah, guys, that is my 7-round NFL mock draft. Oh, hey, In Theory. What's up, man? Yeah, man, I've just been doing a lot of, what's up, man? How you been? I've been good. I've just been doing, stuff outside of YouTube. That's really what I've been occupied with, but I am back. Got to see you here. And, yeah. I will be uploading another video regarding the, what videos? Oh, gone free agency, yeah. Probably the Bengals free agency and what they should do there. But yeah, this was my 7th round mock draft. Thank you all for watching. And like I said, I'm back. At least for now. I won't be taking that long off again, obviously. At most, there'll be a couple days. But there will be an upload tomorrow. At least there should be. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. This is more of an experimental stream than anything, if I'm being honest. So we'll see how it goes. But I hope y'all enjoyed. I love y'all. Peace out. Matter of fact, actually, before we go, let's look at all the grades for my picks. Starting with the Cardinals, they rated Harrison an A+, Newton an A. This is going to be really difficult to scroll down here. I can already tell. It's so difficult to scroll down this. Sure, there's gonna be thing. Whatever. No. Yeah, overall, I think the steal of the draft is Cody Schrader, who went in the 5th round. I forgot who I drafted him to, but he went in the 5th round. I think he'll be the steal of the draft. I think the overall best pick of the draft is going to be Marvin Harrison to the Cardinals. And the Cardinals could be dangerous next year. We'll see. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed. Like I said, sorry for being off so long. There will be an upload tomorrow about free agency. I love y'all. Peace out. And go follow me. I'm on Twitter and Insta. I actually need to put that in like my bio or whatever. I'll do that eventually. But yeah, thank y'all. Love y'all. Peace out.